Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Book Lunch for November. Started because our speaker speak a little bit longer, and so that gives her a couple less minutes. Let me just give you a couple of thoughts together, start from the beginning. Okay. December, we have Rick Austin. He's from the Veterans Administration, and he did a presentation a couple years ago on Korea. Korea, and so he's going to do something on presenting soldiers or being soldiers during Christmas time. He hasn't gotten the books back to me, but I know he'll do a good job. So it'll be a great presentation, very thoughtful and passionate about this. And let's see. We do have story time up until November 16th, which is only like 2 weeks away. If you have little ones that don't want to go to story time or they visit, come and see us. And then our youth activity center will be open all the way into the Christmas holiday season, each day until 5 p.m., 1 to 5. If we don't get a lot, we may close it down and make it 2 to 5, but we'll determine that. You know, somebody who needs English as a second language, we can have BFL classes, and they're 6:30 every Thursday night, and they're the workbook that they use, and so they're learning things. They don't have to be in Spanish, because they use any language in front of. And then, of course, we have, if we have weather, you'll find it on Facebook, you'll find it on holylibrary.com, and you'll find it on our website. And so I'm going to do that. So if you go to our website, holylibrary.com, normally right here in this area, well, I guess it doesn't fall or dash. How do you get that to work with this new thing? I hate Microsoft. Oh, there you go. Doesn't help. Never mind. I was going to do something online. I'm going to have to read up on how to get it. Do it online. It won't show up. So that's next month. I'll figure it out between now and next month. How's that? I'm sorry. So let me just invite Chris Glasgow. She is from the Wamiko Museum, and she has been specializes in the Wizard of Oz with L. Frank Baum and his book and the background and everything to do with the Wizard of Oz, including the movie and all things Wizard of Oz. So she teaches a class in college, which I thought was cool to have her doing a class on the author. And but she knows a whole bunch of things very passionate about it. So we invite her up.
Hi, well, she's turning on.
We're reading Emerald City here. You all have your Emerald City cake. This was an interview for me on the as you said, my name is Chris Glasgow. I'm with the Oz Museum Columbia Theater Foundation in Wamiko, Kansas. And so I had the opportunity to research and learn new things and found and share that information all over the state. Actually, part of the information through Zoom programs and other education programs as I learn new things. That's going on. This past year, I actually did a loss to the university or to do that particular and the presentation this year also for California University. Here, this is all of that because of this not only with map, but international. Now, most people are familiar because of the 1939 film, which was done by MGM.
very few people actually realize that by the time 1939 came around, this story was 41 years old. It had been published almost 40 years ago. And so, for those of you who have read the original book, this is a replica of the original book. The way you can look at it later, it has all the original counterpoints and text drawings for Genslow. A wonderful, wonderful book. I love it. I will have it up here. For anyone who wants to look at that. But very few people know much about the wizard behind the story. And I know we have a couple of wizards here with us today. So we're going to talk about the man behind the wizard today. Okay. The Wizard of Oz is so much a part of our culture that we take it for granted. So, okay, take it 20 years. In any 24-hour period, if you listen to the radio, if you listen to musical lyrics, if you listen to television, if you listen directly from either the book or the stage plays based on the 39 film, it's become a normal part of our vernacular, of our speech, to talk about the wizard, the Griffin, the wicked witch, you know, the flying monkey, whatever. This was a fairy tale that Helen called to tell his kids as a bedtime story back in the late 1800s. His mother-in-law heard him telling part of the story. He called it the Emerald City back then. He heard him talking about the story one night, and he told his son-in-law and said, Frank, he always been my friend for his first name. He hated it. We'll talk about that. And she said, you never write this story down and publish it. Well, as we will find out, his mother-in-law was a published author. She was a well-known researcher and head of the women's rights movement in America during the late 1800s, which most people don't even realize that she was the power behind Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Canton in the women's rights movement during that time, because she did all the researching, all the writing of the speeches, all the writing of the books, et cetera, so that they could get on the stage and shine. But because of her reputation and his respect for her, Henry Malone said, okay, I will write this story down. And 2 years later, in 1900, it was published. Okay, before this tale was written, all fairy tales in America. Here are the 3 major fairy tale authors from Europe that was standard in children's literature and in the home in America in the 1800s. So most of you are probably familiar with Brothers Grimm. They traveled all throughout Europe, things like the fairy tales and folk tales, and put it in several volumes and published them as the Grimm. Okay. Then we have in the 1840s, Hans Christian Andersen from Denmark, who published a number of collections of fairy tales. Popular in home. He loved and he came out making no one in America started writing fairy tales. And keep in mind that there was a specific reason that fairy tales were written in the 14, 15, 16, 1700s, and 1800s in Europe. Anyone know what that reason was? To scare the kids to death. The kids would be so scared, never be scared. That was the purpose behind fairy tales up to this point. Well, everybody thought is continue idea of fairy tale, but not to scare the kids. He wanted them to inspire kids and attributes of people, of places, of governments, so that kids could be educated and inspired. So each town wanted to do their chance. Let's see, what do we do? Yeah, we covered that. Okay, now, after write down this particular story, one of many fairy tales he's been telling his kids and making up for them through the years. He went behind the hand with a pencil on paper. He did not use a typewriter. Okay. And when he finished, he took him almost a year. He took that little stub of a pencil that was left and wrote a piece of paper with his pencil. I wrote the MS or manuscript of the Emerald City, which is what he called the story. Then he signed it and dated it. Then he took that pencil and he glued it to the paper. The family friend that he kept it on the was an inspiration for him as he continued writing children's tales. Well, believe it or not, that piece of paper still exists. And it's been handed down with the family for a couple generations, and then a collector, a Native American collector of things, approached the family and offered them a price they could not refuse. And so it's now still in that collection. So that piece of paper still exists. He was 23 years old at the time that he finished writing The Emerald City. And then in 1900, when it was published, the publishers changed the name to the one that was in Oz. Even though the wizard only shows up for the book. Well, everything that is done in this book is so they can get to the wizard. Over the next 19 years, Alfred Ball wrote more than 60 youth novels as well as adult novels, mostly using pseudonyms or fake names. But they changed depending on the type of novel. If it was books for young women or girls, he used one name. If it was adventure stories for young boys, he used another name. If it was an adult novel for women, another name, etc., etc. Depending on what he was writing was the name he would use. He only used his name, Alfred Baum, for the Wizard of Oz series, of which there were 14 books in the series, for those who may not know. Wasn't just the first book. And then his first two fairy tales that he wrote, are nursery rhyme books that he wrote. Okay, the Oz series is after his death. 19 additional novels were written by Ruth Plumley Thompson, a woman of all things at the beginning of the 1900s. 1 year. Baum started the tradition, 1 year. He said, why do publishers only publish one novel a year in the series? So that people have a chance, number one, everyone to read it. Number two, they have time to think about it. And they have time to read it again to build that anticipation for the next novel. So he started that tradition, which was unknown at the time, and Ruth Plumley Thompson kept up with it. Then about 6 novels written by other authors, 3 by John Neal, who was the main illustrator, 2 by Jack Stowe, a noted author, 1 by Rachel Cosgrove and co-author, family fair there, and then 1 by John Ball's sons, Colonel Frank Jocelyn Ball, making a total of 40 books in the original series. Since then, pretty much every year, has continued to add to the adventure story. There's close to 100 books now in the year. Okay, Ball was the first one to do a stage version of the show of The Wizard of Oz, as well as other Oz plays. He was also the first one to bring the Land of Oz to the movie screen. He started out when movies were first starting in the early 1900s and had his own studio, which we'll talk about later. The most popular motion picture version of The Wizard of Oz prior to 1939, when MGM came on the scene, was a one-reeler of Sea-Link Pictures in 1910. That one was actually picked up by Paramount Film Corporation and published nationwide. That was available nationwide. And that one was written and directed and produced by Alfred Ball. He did that one. Seven Reeler in 1925 was done by one of Ball's children, and by Chadwick Pictures. And this is the first film footage ever that shows Oliver Hardy on the screen, who later joined, you know, in the role in the Hardy comedy teams. But this was the first time Oliver Hardy was on screen in 1925. And then, of course, the MGM film in 39, and there have been countless others since. Now let's backtrack. Now that we've kind of done an overview and look at some of the influences and historic information about the wizard. We're going back to 1856 to New York. Actually, even before that, Cynthia and Benjamin Baum married. That was his parents. The first yellow hemlock plank road was built near Baum's childhood home in the 1850s, 1846. Now, anyone who said the extensive travel along the East Coast or running into road signs that say 46 plank road, 34 yellow brick road, first yellow plank road up and down. Used to be, if they wanted to improve the roads from the dirt road, back in the 1800s, they would lay down road planks and paint them yellow, using yellow hemlock basically. Or they would get yellow bricks from an East Coast brick maker who specialized in yellow bricks, and they would pave the road with yellow bricks, and they were made. This is the first one, and 134, 176 one. Depending on who the road was, and the put down. Those signs are still there. When you travel around, you can see those signs. So yellow roads were very common as Alfred Ball was growing up. It's not something unusual. Now, between 1848 and 1852, he had two older brothers born, both lost to disease. And you're going to hear that a lot. Because back in the 1800s, there were two sicknesses that were invaded the city during the summertime. People called it the summer sickness. You know what those two diseases were? Diphtheria and typhus. Those would enter the cities when it started the trend of nuclear families to flee the cities and go to country homes in the summer. That's why that trend started. They wanted to get there, rather than young out away from the cities where they'd be more likely to catch the disease. Okay? So he had two brothers both died from diphtheria or typhus when they were very, very young. Then in 1856, Lyman Frank is born. Lyman is a family name. I think you're also used to the fact that there are certain historic names that tend to be handed down generation to generation. We may not necessarily like them. Like my mother's middle name was the family traditional name, Winifred. She hated that name. So she brought it to W, to the middle edition. Never said her middle name. Okay. Same thing here with Lyman Frank. I hated that name, so he shortened it to a John. Frank Ball, and always went by Frank the Frank. Now, dies from diphtheria right after his birth. And many of his cousins died over the period of the first couple of years that he was alive. Okay, 1857, his father opened the vegetable factory, when we just a year later caught fire and burned his leg. So there was that business. It tends to happen a lot in his family. They're experimentals, they're entrepreneurs, things always happen. Fire, people investment funds. We had another brother, Henry Moore. Then Benjamin in 1859 decides to go into London. Now, we are not talking, we're talking crude oil that is made into heavy machine equipment. So factories for farming equipment etc. Okay, so he decided to go into that very successful for a number of years. And in fact, he had oil interests all over the east and as far west as Topeka, Kansas. They believe Syracuse, New York, those one. Now, we don't find military as a cause of the time, you have English tutors, each in a home for their education. They would have school in the morning, and in the afternoons, he would go out and go. Well, as he'd run around the farm, sometimes he'd run around the fields. One day, he has in his journal, but he was running to the cornfield. And he went around a corner, the wind was so bright, his arrow was blowing and scared him as he came around the corner in such a way that it looked like it was alive. He noted that in his journal. Wonder where that came in and was the box. 1861 started the Civil War. For a man who was acquainted not only with death and disease, but very acquainted with the devastation of the Civil War. His mom has another name after a famous general in the Civil War, George McClellan, in 1861. Guess what? George dies at age 1. At training was sent to Peak Still Military Academy in New York. Now, notice that we had a yellow brick road. Okay. We're all familiar with the interstate highway system, right? There's interstate highways which go from major towns, cities to major cities, same thing, right? And then we have state highways, which within a particular state, a geographical area, will go from kind of more minor towns, but still major to the state, just not to the nation, right? So think of the yellow brick roads as the interstate highway system. Okay, they were designed to go from major town in one area to major town in another area, so people couldn't get lost when they were doing their travel. From big town to big town. Then they had other roads that went from smaller town to smaller town. Okay, so the Peak Still Military Academy in New York decided to put in their own yellow brick road. But their purpose was so the students wouldn't get lost. So it went from the top of the water of the military academy down to the railroad station where the kids would be dropped off. At the beginning of each semester. And that way, all they had to tell the kids was follow the yellow brick road. And it would give them straight to school. Okay. So in now, unfortunately, Frank did not do it. His parents really didn't know what to do with him because he was such an imaginative child. He was not. He didn't like to get involved in the typical boy fisticuffs with his friends and neighbors and the rougher boy activities. He was interested in art, in music, in beauty, in writing, in singing, in dancing. You can imagine in the 1800s, the parents go, what the heck is wrong with this kid? We need to know. So they sent him to the school. Well, he came home after the first year and he begged his parents to send him back. When they asked him why, he said, they bully me, they tease me, they physically hit me, they make fun of me, I don't like it. Well, his dad and mom had a making this up. They sent him back to school for year 2. Well, a few months into the semester, they started getting letters from their son. Get me out of here. Okay? When you can imagine that the tougher boys definitely pick on someone of more sensitive nature, right? We see that unfortunately still in our society. And that was happening because now there was another reason he was picked on in school by the teacher. He was left-handed. Back then, left-handed meant there was something wrong with you. That was the defect. And they had to beat it out of you and force you to be right-handed be like everybody else, but he was left-handed. You know what they say, left-handers are the most imaginative, creative people in the world. How many left-handers in here? You do. All right. Well, his dad decided, I'm going to check this out. So he went to the school, saw what was happening, then he pulled his son out of school down the hall. But I'm not going to have my son subjected to this because he was being beat by the teachers if he ever used his left hand for anything. On the way home, it stopped in the city, in Syracuse, and they had printing presses for kids on sale. Ooh. This way, Frank could write down his stories and share them with his friends and neighbors. Awesome, he loved to write. So Dad, as a peace gift, I'm sorry, we need to go there for a year and a half. And he immediately printed a journal called Journal. Now, this was very popular at this time in America. Teenagers were this in every town. They were using printing presses to write down stories, write down thoughts, draw, tell about the problems of their lives, their friends, their activities. And then basically running them on, making copies and disseminating among their friends. So that was kind of how they communicated. All right. Then Frank was also a stamp collector. And he noticed that there were no order manuals, how-to manuals on stamp collecting available at the time, not at least not in his area of the country. So he came up with a book he called printed it himself on his little papers and disseminated it to other people who might be interested in stamp collecting. Then 1873. Remember that his dad was recovering and they went into the law business, and then they had a general store, and they and they had accountants who does funds and different things happen, which this is the tale. So because of this, all of a sudden, this well-to-do family was broke. So by 1873, what did they do to pay their bills? They had to sell home. Now keep in mind, so his mother, this was devastating. This is the home he had from the time they got married in 1842. This is where she had raised, she was both raised and bigger than children. Dad lost the home. Well, Alfred Paul, at age 17, made a promise to himself and his mother. He said, as soon as I have enough money, I'm buying the farm next. Let's see what happens. Okay, the bomb sold the home. And Frank started working at the family dry goods store. Now, in 1878, his aunt and uncle from New York came to visit. They were all the community together. Wow. Right? Well, this would be great. So instead of letting them pay to the service, he went into the theater. He joined a small theater group out of the Palmer Company and changed his stage name to Lewis at Palmer. If you wanted Lewis, that was a better name. Okay, he supplemented his income by writing articles for local newspapers, including New York papers in Philadelphia. Then his father, when he saw that he was having success in the theater business, decided, I'm going to buy up, everybody might have a lot of interest, I'm going to buy up the local theaters. He's been able to start getting income back again. And I'm going to turn those opera houses over to Frank to manage. So he had instant theaters to do his plays. Now keep in mind, Frank at this time was not just a member of the troupe. He started his own theater group, and he was the producer, the director, he wrote the scripts, he designed the costumes, he created the choreography, he wrote the music, and lead star. So it was definitely his theater company. So for the next 3.5 years, Frank managed those theaters, they traveled all over the eastern US, and they even did a stint at the opera house here in Kansas. The only time he was ever in Kansas was those 2 weeks. All right, well, by now, we are complete that he took some of the money he had made, and what do you think he did with it? He bought the farm and sold it to his mom, so it'd be in her name for wonderful. The farm was now hers forever. During this time, there were a lot of people interested in the hot air balloon. This was new technology, new science. And I'm making a point here because they heavily influenced Frank's thinking about travel through the air. Okay, Professor Donaldson tried to fly across Lake Michigan in 1975, was never seen again. Okay, can anyone tell me what Lake Michigan is known for? It's huge storms. And they come up out of the air across the lake, and they're devastating storms. In fact, it is estimated that there are shipwrecks in Michigan that three other places in the world, except maybe there would be in China. Okay, but these storms would come out with no rain, and it was so vicious down there. John Wise, a few years later, in 1879, decides he's going to cross Lake Michigan. He was never seen again. He doesn't seem very safe across Lake Michigan. There were many, many other attempts by balloonists to cross Lake Michigan and failed. Now we come to the fun. Frank Ball was away doing his theater stuff. He had a younger sister who was at Cornell University. She was in the first class of 12 women around at the university. She wanted to be a doctor eventually, and she was taking a nursing degree there at Cornell University. Well, her roommate happened to be a lady by the name of Maud Gage, the daughter of Matilda Johnson Gage, one of the 3 leaders in the women's rights movements in the 1800s for America. Very independent young woman. Mom was there studying literature, but Frank's sister was there, and she had this brilliant idea. And here soon, like Frank, and asked him, beg him to come home for the party. When does he know? I'm going to invite Mom. I guess that was too much. Well, Frank doesn't know Mom had been here. So Mom stay with her for the Christmas party. And a couple of weeks before he traveled home to visit her mom and Matilda, shows up at the party. Party's already in and to the door, and he sees Mom on the other side of the room. And I put him hammer sticking it around. That would have been some chili. That's exactly what happened. He saw her, she saw him, her eyes met, they started quartering that out. Well, Mom went to her mom, Matilda, after her stay with the mom, and said, Mom, and his name is Frank Ball. What does he do? He's an actor. You want to know they're married an actor, they are shooting, they are not dependable, they can't support you. And what you are that man. Mom looked at her mother and said, I can never Frank, whether you like it or not. Matilda stamped her foot and said, you will not marry that man as long as you live in his house. So what do you think about this? When Matilda realized stopped you at the door and said, okay, I'll let you marry him on one condition. Well, two conditions. Number one, you let me have the wedding in this house so that I can properly present him to society, to our friends and acquaintances, to hopefully give him some options, careers in the future to promote him. And number two, that every winter, wherever you are, that I'm allowed to come visit you for the winter, basically 6 months out of the year. I will stay with you to make sure you're doing okay. I was like, okay. And the wedding happened. Okay. One of those fun little stories. There they are on the wedding day. Maud and Patty. Okay, Frank registered only 3 of his many plays that he wrote and performed, including the Maid of Erin, which became his most famous work. It's an Irish melody. Okay. At age 26, he put together another troupe, took the show, made a turn on the road, made lots of stops. By 1883, Maud was pregnant with their first baby. So Frank was one of those rare individuals in the 1800s who believed that fathers should be in the home supporting the children in their lives. He was a big proponent of women's liberation. Dads need to have strong relationships with their kids, and it's okay for mom to go out, have employment, do whatever they want to do, and dad should be home with the kids to support the wife. This was unheard of in the 1800s. Because she was pregnant, Frank hired someone else to be the leading man in the play, which was traveling around the country and told them that should care of the kids. Okay. While he was home in Newtown, Pennsylvania, the theater where his troupe was performing caught fire, burned to the ground. He lost all the music, the scripts, the costumes, the scenery, the set pieces, all gone. Well, once again, Frank was one of those guys who told that didn't work out, showed my shoulders, what's next? He didn't dwell on the past. Okay, so Frank went into business in 1883 with his older brother, Benjamin Jr., who was a chemist, and he took the Glasgow company and developed a performance castery. It is still considered the best created for him to achieve. And just 3 years later, Benjamin Jr. dies at age 36. Frank now only has 1 living brother. His other 5 are gone. And his dad died shortly. They had their second child in 1886. Frank and Maud became sick actually after the second child, peritonitis. She was very close to death for the first 6 months after the birth of that child. So Frank was home to watch with the taking care of the children. He decided to move Maud closer to his sister. Remember his sister who was at Cornell University, who wanted eventually to become a doctor, and he was the roommate of Maud and got together. Well, he moved them close to her so that his sister, who was now one of the first female doctors on the East Coast, helped take care of Maud when he needed to be away for a month. And Frank spent a long time with their son building those strong family bonds. Now 1888 comes along, they're going to visit Maud's sister and brother-in-law and their family in the Dakota territory. While it's a month, they decide to stay in Aberdeen, South Dakota. And they set up a store. Cameras were brand new technology. Frank was always new technology. Started taking pictures of them over. There is the front of their store that they created. And lived upstairs where you see the woman and man looking out. That's actually Maud's sister and her husband. But they lived in the store, and the store was on the floor. Very typical for the time. It was called Bomb, opened in October of 1888. It was filled with goods and conscious in things that the typical South Dakota down to China, crystal, fancy goods to decorate their houses, toys for the children, etc. And he would buy all these things from Chicago, have them shipped in. Okay, and so it was very popular when it first opened. They had never had anything like that out here on the Dakotas. So he had a large order for Christmas sales, all of his profits in that. That's how they shipped them from Chicago. Across Lake Michigan by the well, down in the free store, so obviously his stuff to sell were not there by Christmas. Then there was a drought that hit the country and people got out to watch fires. He tried to send credit to help people out, assuming that the drought was just going to be like 1 year. Everybody would have been off the had back on task. He did all kinds, he even added a certain out 9th Street. No. At that time, it didn't work. The drought continued for many years. It turned out after this. So basically, okay, you're too much in debt, we're all on your loan, and less than a year later, you have to close the store. So, shrug your shoulders, what am I going to do next? Okay, let's go on to the next thing. So by 1890, he's lost his business. They now have 3 children, and they have $100 to their name, and she's pregnant with her 4 sons. So John Gray, the local newspaper man, decides he wants to retire. He sells the newspaper to Bob. And Bob starts working on the paper. And about a year later, because the drought continues and continues and continues, people didn't have the money to advertise, didn't have the money to buy, families had to get cars to go elsewhere, back east or further west. And guess what? He had to close the paper down. But he sure had something talking. Okay, I know that some of you may have to leave the next couple days. That's perfectly okay, but I am going to work tomorrow. Okay? Anyone, they move to Chicago. He buys a little house in Chicago. They move in Campbell Park on Frank's 35th birthday. He had a job at the Chicago Post, writing articles. Well, 2 weeks after they moved into the house, he decided, well, $18.62 just isn't good enough for me, my wife, and the 4 kids. We need more than that. Can you imagine living on that money? 1862. So he quit that job and became a buyer for Siegel, Cooper and Company. Anyone familiar with the Siegel department store out of Chicago? Very famous department store, and he became a buyer for them and did a lot of training. Okay, then he transferred over again a year later. For about a year and a half later to Pickett and Brooks, becoming their traveling salesman all across Southwest. Pickett and Brooks was a company that made imported goods from France, like fancy china, tableware, lace, tablecloths, silver, those kind of things. And he would travel. And it was on my big jump. Then 1891, Chicago's oldest film comes along, the Columbia Exhibition. He went several times to that fair. It's 50 cents a ticket, which was a lot of money. You think most people were probably working for $20 a month. Under 50 cents was pretty happy for a ticket. But he went several times, was totally entranced by what he saw there. The White City, there were 220 buildings all painted white. They had to demonstrate this to paint all those buildings. So spray painting, never used spray painting, that came was fair. It was also the first time that the child was allowed to wear tinted glasses to get the sun out of their eyes. And the glasses, the lenses were all green. So that when they looked at the white city, it looked emerald. Wonder where that came. The first time that was available. There was a hot air balloon that would come up and views over the white city and then come back down, but guess what? Off the lake is storm again, and okay, Frank always worked on stories to tell the family occupied his time that he was trapped. And he would come home after dinner, gather tell him his story, made up that day, and then he would ask questions, and then he would add to the story based on the questions. His mother-in-law Majoka was there and heard that story and told him to write it down. There he is at age 43 when he published The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. Okay, he had published a book called The Show in 1897 and 1901. He did that because he noticed that he went to stores to sell his goods as he was traveling. Everybody had windows, but they just piled boxes. They didn't know how to decorate their windows. They didn't have window decorators as a profession back then. He said, this is got to change. So he wrote a book showing people how to do that. Now, at one farm implement store he went to, he was trying to convince the owner to decorate his windows. He did with farm implements. Let me show you. He went and got a big boiler, metal boiler, put it in the window. He added piping and stuff for legs and arms. And various arm parts to create feet and hands. He used a bucket, upside down, on top of the boiler, for the hand. They did a face on it. And for the handle, he could use. His first big man. Everybody was coming into the store to find out what was going on, who was right. He met a publisher in Chicago who published Bob's collection of Mother Goose tales. What he had done is the kids had asked about the Mother Goose tales, which were European, and he decided to put those tales in prose, adding more detail to kind of answer the questions that his kids had asked. So you go to the story, and there it is. First book that he officially published. It was pretty successful, but unfortunately, the publishers had problems with the bank. What can you say? He teamed up with Denso, W. Denso, and he created a book, illustrated book for young children. Believe it or not, before this, children's books had no pictures. Publishers didn't think pictures were important for kids. You just read them. Let their imagination figure it out. Well, Denso and Mom said, no, kids need pictures. And on top of that, kids need more. Unheard of in the publishing business. They had a lot of arguments with the publishers over that. So they split the royalties, went to George Hill Company to publish their new creation, which was a Father Goose book. He said, Mother Goose has story. So they had Father Goose stories and published that in 1899. And it was so popular that they decided to write musical scores to go along with the stories. Published that too. Okay, he now had well, getting close to $200,000 in our day, in equities in the bank. So those Father Goose, with the big first stencil drawings of numbers, there's color. Before this, it was black and white. Okay, three things happened then, which caused Frank to decide, I got to get off the stick and I need to write seriously. Okay, one, Lewis Carroll decided to die in England. And then Alice in Wonderland died. Matilda Gage, his mother-in-law, died, and Dorothy Gage died. Well, Dorothy Gage, who's Dorothy Gage? We won't mention the Dorothy Gage. Dorothy Gage was his niece. the only girl born to any side of that family in that generation. They were thrilled. Now that I was going to her house, she got stuck with it. So she took over. Since they were close to her sister, we had a little girl. She took over care of that little girl. Well, unfortunately, summer came along. The summer sickness. The girl was 6 months old. She died of bacteria. Mom was inconsolable. It was at that point that I thought made the decision. The heroine in my Emerald City book is going to be named in honor of my niece. And in that book, he was able to give immortality to his little niece and give organ back to his wife. Okay, this was the first of my niece that was published. And every page had her drawings and illustrations on it. First reading coming by an American author, and the only one ever written to that point given an American landscape and creatures. Okay, now they started putting it on stage, where they go through this real quick. They had musical stage production ran for 8 years, earning a lot of money. Dave Redstone and David Montgomery were the Scarecrow and Tin Man, the main characters of that first stage show, and that set them up with this week. That made their career. Finally, in 1907, Paul had been there for 4 years, writing up Oz book. Further adventure, even as little girl showing up at his house, knocking on the doors, and what happened to you? What happened to the Tin Man? What happened to the Scarecrow? Ever? He finally decided, okay, and the family needed money. So he began writing more books, ended up writing 14 books prior to his death in 1919. 2 were published post-truth by his wife. The family new illustrator, illustrated all the rest of his book. Now there's one, this much, a little bit about some of these other books, but I want you to notice 1902. The Life and Adventures of Santa Claus. And have any of you guys ever read that book? Does the library have that book? If you get the chance, read that book. Bob is the very first writer in the world to tell the whole story of Santa Claus. Where he was born, how he was raised, the influences in his life, why he started giving points for children, etc., etc. It is the whole history of Santa Claus. But it's a therapy. But keep that in mind. But he's the first one to ever do that. Imagine that. Okay. As usual. He always spent a little more than he knows. And he was very smart though. Anytime he copyrighted a book, he copyrighted it in Maud's name. Anytime they bought property, he put it in Maud's name. He remembered what had happened to his mother when she lost her home many, many years before. He said, that's something that happened in my life. And my life. So he made sure he put everything that made money or had to do with his home in his wife's name, so that if anything happened to him, it was more likely that the man was going to die before the woman. In that time period, she would be taken care of. Okay. His first grandchild came in 1916, and he insisted that she be named Ozma. For any of you who have read past one in the Oz series, Ozma is the rightful ruler of Oz, who Dorothy actually rescues in subsequent books and puts back on the throne. There's a house in Hollywood in 1912. It was a beautiful little house, and it ended up, it was in the middle of the Orange Road. The place called Hollywood, little known, and it ended up being less than a mile from where Hollywood downtown, it was in Chinese town, Thomas Chinese theater. It was within walking distance of all that weather. He tried returning to the theater, but it just, the line of sentences was because film was down. That's faded. He got together with three of his friends, they put in $100,000 and purchased a 7-acre lot on Santa Clara Boulevard and created 3 Oz films. Patchwork Realm, Magic World, and His Majesty the Scarecrow was. The only one that made national importance was Patchwork Road. That was picked up by Paramount Studios, one of the new guys in town, and distributed nationwide. So that closed, and it was their theater or the film company about a year and a half after they started. Seems to be pattern. He became ill in 1918, had an operation on his gallbladder, never fully recovered. But he had written book 13 and 14 in the series. They hadn't been published yet. Even though he was sick, he continued to edit them and prepare them for publication so that his wife could publish them after his death and have that steady income coming in. So on May 5th, 1919, he was unconscious for 24 hours, then resurfaced. His wife never left his side. Franklin told Maud a couple of things. He said, number one, she's the only woman he had ever loved. He wanted her to know that. Number two, she said, never sell or move out of Glasgow, which was the name of her home. He wanted to make sure he didn't suffer what his mom did in losing her home. And then he said something interesting. He said that it was time for him to cross the shaking sands. Now, the shaking sands, for those of you who may not know, is that they're a special part of Oz. It's kind of the desert, the deadly desert of Oz. And when someone dies in Oz, which it is, they cross the shaking sands and they don't come back. So he told her it was time to cross the shaking sands and passed away. That's when MGM in the 1930s decided to approach Maud for the rights to make a movie out of the first book. Well, at that time, she didn't have the rights. They sold the rights to someone else on condition that once their debts were paid from the profits on those rights, that the rights be returned to them. The law didn't know that 16 years had gone by since those debts had been paid. The company who owned the rights didn't want her to go, so they were making put the money on her. They were breach of contract. So NPL did two separate warnings on that company and basically gave it all to them. Give her the rights back, or we take it to court and we have all 16 years. Obviously, they gave the rights immediately. They didn't want to be exposed as frauds. So, once they got the rights back, then sold just that one book to MGM. And within the next 8 years, they produced the Wonderful Wizard of Oz, or as they call it, the Wizard of Oz, on film. Maud was able to be at the 1939 grand opening from Chinese Theater to give the tribute to her husband for that night. She passed away, stayed in the Oz home, and passed away in 1953. So just a review of some of the life influences. The Rose Lawn Family, the Young Rose, the 20 Rose, the loss of the family home, the Lucas, his love for foreign lands and people, the lion at the door, debt, the constant fear of not becoming paid adults. The show window, the 2 man, the death of his niece, he gave him his own character. His mother, he was influenced by writing, the woman suffrage movement, which all of his books, if you look at all his books, they all have women as the main characters, strong, independent women who make positive changes in society. His love of science and technology, and of course, the Chicago Law. Okay, I'm gonna turn it in here. We're gonna get past all these. Come on, get that. If I would close, we're gonna take it from all my problem. What did I do? Oh, there it is. Let's get that. If you don't remember anything else about this presentation, I hope you'll remember this thing by my friend Paul, because this was his motivation for everything he did for us. Prior to his death, he said, when I was young, I longed to write a great novel that should win me fame. Now that I'm old, my first book is for Julie's children. To please a child is a sweet and lovely thing that warms one's heart and brings its own reward. I hope my book is in that way, with the children love. That's all. Thank you. And you need to read that, pray, but if anyone has a question, glad to address any questions you might have about this as well. MGM, solar farm.
My question is, why Wamego, Kansas?
That's a good question. I probably have been talking at the Office Museum. In 1995, the historic Wamego was built, and its structure was influenced by the Chicago 93, just as Van Gimel City was influenced by that fair. On its 100th anniversary, after it had gone through extensive renovations, the Colombian Theater reopened to the public in 1995. As part of that grand reopening, they had a Wizard of Oz display for the local residents. That display was so popular, it brought in over 12,000 people from all over the region just to see that Wizard of Oz display. It was then that the powers that be, Montego, realized there's a museum anywhere, honoring in the world, anywhere in the world. So they decided, why not here, in Kansas, where they're going to be 8 years later, in 2003, we opened up. And we're still there, we're in our 19th year now. We are still the only Wizard of Oz museum in the world that covers the whole gamut of the history of the Oz phenomenon. Okay. Any other questions on these? Yeah, I hope you make a send out there. And I mean, we talk about history, everything from 1860 to today. Always displays around and so you never know what you can see. Thank you very much. Knowledge about history, anything in humanities, you have to share with other people. Kansas Humanities, every December, January, February, you can apply to be a speaker. You give them an outline of what you and John O'Brien, you'd like to speak about this. It can be local history, it can be national history, it can be like women's rights, little history in Kansas or whatever. And they'll put you on as a speaker.
But you have to come here first.
Yeah, we want to travel. What's nice is that you can decide. library museum or station. You can decide which one you want to. They don't assign you, you pick the side. So if you're busy doing other things for a month or two, just don't take any assignments to them.
Thank you very much.
It's really a lot of them.